October 26, 2025, 1,000 miles away in Kiev, command moved quietly underground. At 9:18 a.m., a small green light appeared on the main screen. Every operator turned their eyes to it, hands tightening on the controls. A few seconds later, a swarm of drones rose into the clear morning sky, cutting through the air like a wave of metal birds. Each drone had a clear purpose. Some were sent as decoys to confuse the enemy and pull their missiles away from real targets. Others carried strong jammers that blocked search and tracking systems across wide areas. Behind them, the main strike drones followed, locked on with exact coordinates deep inside Russian territory. The mission was called Horizon Rain. From the command room, the screens filled with hundreds of moving dots. Voices came low and serious, giving final confirmations. For a short moment, everything went still. Then the radar screens exploded with color as hundreds of signals took off at once. Kiev held its breath. Around 9:30 a.m., red lights appeared across the monitors and alarms began to scream. The strike had begun. Air defense units rushed into action. Orders were shouted from every direction. Operators stared at the screens, seeing dozens of targets moving at once, some real, some fake, making it almost impossible to tell which ones were threats. In response, Russian S-400 batteries near Zelenograd lit up and launched 12 interceptors into the sky. Their flames cut through the clouds. Some missiles found their targets, hitting Bayraktar TB2 drones and breaking them apart in midair. It was a hard wave for Ukraine, but it gave them what they needed most: time. The next move came fast. 2 UJ-22 drones entered Russian airspace to attack radar sites. In seconds, more than 60% of central Russia's radar systems went dead. Screens filled with static. Operators pressed buttons, shouting into dead headsets. One technician later called it a whiteout, a total blackout of radar feeds. The screens showed only broken images and no one could lock onto anything. Russian pilots on aircraft scrambled to intercept, but faced the same issue. Their radars showed blank skies. Some missiles were fired blindly into empty clouds. The first pilots to engage reported seeing flashes, shadows, and echoes that weren't real. Confusion became their biggest enemy. Drones had formed into a formation. They moved low but fast. Each carried on board AI navigation that adapted mid-flight, rerouting around intercept zones the instant a missile was launched. They flew in near silence, the only sound a low mechanical hum carried by the wind. Russian forces from the ground fired blindly into the sky. One missile exploded while a few went down in flames, spiraling like falling stars, but most kept coming forward. In those few seconds, panic spread faster than the drones themselves. Commanders shouted over each other, trying to regain control of dead channels. The sense of order that once ruled the control rooms vanished into chaos. While confusion spread, the main strike wave appeared. 15 Bayraktar TB2s, each carrying 2 warheads, flew in from different sides. Russian Pantsir S-1 systems fired back, bright trails slicing the sky. 3 drones were destroyed. Cameras mounted on surviving drones streamed every second back to the command bunker. Operators in Kiev watched through a grainy, shaking feed showing Moscow's skyline growing larger with each passing second. At 400 meters altitude, the drones tilted downward, diving toward pre-marked destinations. Then, one by one, they released their payloads. People living on the edge of the city said the sky sounded alive, filled with thunder and flashes. Windows shook. Then came the first hits on the State Duma's West Wing. The strong outer walls cracked and splintered. More than 300 bulletproof glass panels burst apart, raining sharp pieces onto the plaza below. Some of the FPV drones swarmed low through the Duma's western approach. They targeted the vehicles of emergency responders, detonating near barricades to prevent fire trucks from entering. The shockwaves cracked surrounding windows and sent debris cascading onto the street. Their precision stunned analysts later. Inside the Duma, alarms screamed as automated shutters tried to seal off burning corridors. Fire systems were activated, but the lines were cut. The only thing left inside was smoke, sparks, and the echo of falling stone. This wasn't all as the nightmare deepened. 2 more attack drones slammed into the dome. The walls split open, and the grand chandelier, 2 tons of silver and steel, broke loose and crashed down from the second floor. People on the streets froze where they stood. The sound of the crash echoed across Red Square, followed by a deep silence. Flames spread in seconds, then an explosion ripped through the communication room, cutting the fiber lines and throwing the building into total darkness. A few moments later, the roof gave in, crashing into the main assembly hall. Dust and smoke spread for meters around. The force was so strong it registered as a 2.1 magnitude quake. At 9:40 a.m., nearby gas pipes burst, setting off another round of explosions and more fire. For 11 long minutes, the Kremlin's main command was blind. No video, no sound, no way to reach anyone inside the Duma. On the streets, rescue crews struggled to break through. Paramedics ran through the smoke, dragging survivors, treating burns, and rushing the injured toward ambulances. Their suits were covered in soot, faces hidden behind masks, voices muffled by the roar of fire. Every step forward meant dodging falling debris. Overhead, more drones circled aimlessly. Some out of fuel fell silently into the fire below. The attack lasted only moments, yet the dome was gone. The once proud structure stood in ruins. Engineers later said the steel plates had bent over 2 inches from their original shape, far beyond what the frame could handle. The damage was massive. By 9:50 a.m., footage of the burning Duma reached national television. Russia's leaders watched in shock. Some replayed the footage again and again, unable to believe it. Within hours, Moscow went on full alert. Airspace was locked down. Extra S-400 and Pantsir systems were set up to protect important sites. Russian officials blamed Ukraine and said Western forces had helped them. They called it an act of terrorism. State media tried to hide the true scale of the damage, but videos from witnesses flooded online. The truth could not be buried. The Kremlin ordered an urgent investigation while cyber teams searched for the signal trails of the drones. Checkpoints were set up all across the capital. Air defense drills went on all night. Forensics teams moved in as soon as safety allowed. Burned fragments were bagged. Fingerprints found on the broken parts were taken. The investigation started as Russia was curious to know how the attack was planned. Satellite images released later showed the entire western sector of the Duma Hollow. Analysts estimated reconstruction would take years. Behind those official statements, anger and fear spread inside the command. Billions had been spent on defenses that failed in minutes. The realization hit hard. This was not only destruction, it was humiliation. At the heart of the operation was a powerful electronic warfare strategy. Specialized drones carried jamming modules that disrupted radio frequencies, radar networks, and GPS guidance systems. Within minutes, Russian command links were disrupted, and their air defenses were blinded. Entire sectors of communication went dark. This invisible layer of attack fought through signals and drones became the backbone of Ukraine's success, proving that control of the drones could cripple even the most advanced defense grids. For Ukraine, this mission carried a message. Even the most guarded targets could be reached. The use of layered drone waves, all perfectly timed, showed how vulnerable Russia's systems really were. Ukraine kept quiet. No public comment, no confirmation. But across Europe, experts began calling it a turning point, proof that war had changed forever. For decades, power in war was about the size of armies and the reach of missiles. But Ukraine had proved something else. Smart ideas could beat money. Each drone, built from low-cost parts, carried a lesson. Innovation can overcome even the strongest barriers. At 3 p.m. Moscow time, international observers confirmed what had happened. A total of 255 drones were launched. 179 made it into Russian airspace, and 41 reached the capital. It became the largest unmanned strike ever seen in modern warfare. Russia's billion-dollar defenses had fallen to tiny flying machines. They had not stopped them, not seen them coming, and not warned the people. If the signals had been caught in time, maybe some lives could have been saved. If Russia keeps leaving these gaps open, Ukraine will find them again and strike harder next time. They aim to disable military capabilities rather than mass civilian killing, in which they succeeded. The remains of the Duma now stand as a stark reminder of how quickly old systems can fail in a new digital era. And as night came over Moscow, the fires still burned in the distance, lighting the skyline with an orange glow. It was a quiet sign of a war fought not with armies, but with silence, technology, and precision.